man. Luke was seen attending career day at St. Grady High School for his goddaughter, where he met Rebecca again. Minutes later, a sobbing Kylie interrupted their conversation to report a friend crying in a little girl's room. Right, so previously, I think we looked through all of this, yeah? Yeah, I'm going for... Okay, so the day we've missed is they've moved in and they were talking about the children, and Hana and Zach has met. Yeah, okay. And hopefully moving in. Drinking. Right. And she's gotten the card from Ashton. Oh, he was drinking absinthe. Right. Okay, yeah. But she hasn't said that she's moving out yet, right? Oh gosh, those shots. That was such a bad idea. I so regret doing that. I should have shown it to Ashton. Oh, I regret it so much. Right. Statement. Career. So, about this moment, he's going to show their photos to them, which is going to be the most awkward thing ever. Right. Right, and now Father Norman is cursed too. Ooh, jeez, I'm great. I feel great. I feel so great right now. Definitely not. The tremors continue long after the last of my classes have ended. Although none of my students have commented on it, I caught a few sharry, anxious glances every time a pen slips from my hand on my shoulders, tense whenever called. How unusual it must be for them to see the normally composing scales become a bundle of nerves. Even the most boisterous ones have given me less grief today. You'd think being on my 4th cup of tea would provide any sort of comfort. Or is this the 5th? Tea, I love tea. Tea is great. Again, why does Agate, why does counting matter now? The fact that I can't easily shake it off this time should tell me something. The last time this happened, I passed it off as some lapse in my part after having been sick the week before.
And it is a natural conclusion.
Those are just stories. A centuries-old lore passed by the locals to keep children in line. What place doesn't have those? One of my Dawes books even went as far as to describe them as a strong part of Isabella's culture. 3 giants? Women who feed on unborn children straight from a mother's womb? Or hell, there's even that one story about a demon baby. All folklore that never had a smidgen of truth in it, most probably told to scare off the natives there back in the old days. Much like every other one in every other place, the world is more universal than people care to think. Universal, jeez. But looking at it from where I'm standing now, I'm just staring right into the eyes of that woman after all the things I've been hearing and feeling. Perhaps there's really more to that bloody letter than some awful Halloween prank.
Perhaps Isabella's right all along.
Terrible thing, if true. Though that thought doesn't linger long, thankfully. Soon the ringing of my mobile takes my attention away from it. An unfamiliar name flashes before me once the screen lights up and my brows snip together. Oh, right, she gave her number. Marianne McCullough. Staring hard at the screen, I try to remember when I've entered this person on my contract? What? I've enter this person on my contact list. It takes a moment, but when it clicks, my eyes zeroes in on the book lying wide open on my table. Loaned out from the library almost a week ago. I met the woman there by sheer coincidence, a fellow history buff apparently. We were after the same book, but in the end she'd given it to me under the condition that I'd call her once I'm done. To be honest, I've completely forgotten about it until now, and, well, I haven't really taken a peek at it until today. Normally I'd be done with the whole volume of this size a few days after checking it out, about 1 or 2 depending on how busy I am. But finding a chance to sit down and read through it has been more difficult lately than I anticipated. One moment, I'm busy simply grading worksheets, attending a movie premiere next, and someone suddenly inviting me out for one reason or another. Days later, a friend stopped showing up in her flat right after boring reports pop up in local news. There simply isn't enough time to breathe and get a grip on things. I have been flipping through the pages of the said book moments ago, though never really reading anything and merely hoping for a distraction. To no avail. My phone gives out another ring, and this time I do not hesitate to answer.
Marianne?
Hello! Here I was starting to wonder if it was a bad time to call. Is it?
No, not at all. I dismissed my last class a few minutes ago. I'm pretty much free for the rest of the afternoon, unless something comes up. Is this about last time? The book?
Not really. I was hoping to ask you about some other thing.
Oh, sure. What about?
You grew up in this city, didn't you?
It's a peculiar question to ask to someone you've just met, but I answer her nevertheless. I'm more curious where she's heading with this by starting with that.
Born and raised, 3rd-generation migrant. Why do you ask?
So, you must be familiar with the local lore.
Oh.
The, stories?
Quite. If I'm going to teach about history, I'd like to think I am, yeah? But a family friend would be a better person to ask. If you want, I can contact him for you.
No, let's just keep this thing between us, okay? It's nothing too big. Alright.
She has seen... Oh, is it above the television? I'm pretty sure... I'm just gonna check. I'm pretty sure that's happened already, right? Yeah, because... Yeah, no, it has, because it was in their previous house. Flat, whatever.
I really don't know how else to put this without sounding a bit crazy. But things have been really... odd.
And has she seen... I think she's seen... Has she seen... Wait, I'm just gonna check. Has she seen... Gosh, I don't even remember Lorraine? I don't remember her name, but the blonde girl, Amanda or something. Lorraine. Has she seen her yet? No. Okay. But, I mean, she's still... It's... Gosh, she's going to be freaking kidnapped and locked in a prison cell. Jeez.
Do you remember the mansion I mentioned back when we met? My current project?
In hindsight, I should have expected it'll lead to this. She must not have lived here long if she's just asking about this now. It didn't take a week with Isabella when she arrived, but that's Isabella. Superstitious down to the last hair. Though it won't be too far off to think Mariana's only started thinking about this recently. She's working on the damn house itself. I must admit, even I'm curious now, despite living here for so many years and having so many chances to look it up before.
The Ermengarde Mansion, yes?
Yes, that one. And, the thing is... Oh dear, this is a bad idea. You know what? Just forget I ever called you about this.
It must have been... Oh. It must have been the sunny weather. It's making me sick and I see stupid things. See things?
No, wait. It's all right. I don't mind.
There's a moment's pause before she responds again. She's right in that this is a silly thing to talk about, especially between what I assume two people who are pretty grounded on their beliefs with regards to these things. I don't blame her if she hesitates.
I can't believe I'm asking you about this.
It's fine. Why don't you just think of it as some form of research?
Well, all right. But after this, we're going to forget we ever had this talk.
My lips will be sealed. Now, what is it about the mansion?
Just, what do you know about it? The general gist. The place's past. What happened to the owners? Anything you can give me.
Let's see. To start off,
Am I actually going to get some information? Holy shit. I do my best to give her a concise summary from the time the house was commissioned for 100 years ago and who had it built, up to the point it got deserted after the last heir's death and the dead was passed on the Ermengarde's nearest relatives. Frankly, if it weren't for those urban legends persisting, the house would have already faded into obscurity long ago. Demolished even. These are all nothing she probably hasn't heard of before, yet there's dissatisfaction in her tone once they finish.
That's all there really is to it?
as far as I know, there's this little bit I forgot to mention about Lady Charlotte Ermengarde's death, but most of those are just theories.
Keep talking.
Aside from that, this is really everything we've been teaching all these years. Should there be anything more?
No mention of any other weird stuff? Other crazy stories? Or a letter of some sort?
My blood runs cold. Any warmth and comfort the tea I've drank has given me prior has instantly been drained out of me. The phone creaks softly as my light hold on it turns into a firm grip. This whole letter bullshit is starting to turn into more than a coincidence.
None that I've heard or read of. What does a letter have to do with this?
Oh, no. It was just something I came across. Ignore it. Random thoughts, you know? By the way, I need to run. Thanks for answering my questions.
She ends the call abruptly with only a clipped goodbye, leaving my mind heavy with even more thoughts. The mood around my classroom has gone considerably denser in light of what little I have gleaned from that conversation. I don't think Marianne's lying about her intent. Her interest is genuine, I'd give her that, but she's left a lot of things out. I get the sense she only asked because something's happening around her too, and if she hasn't mentioned the letter, I probably wouldn't have made the connection.
Just what the hell did we get ourselves into?
Of course, there's still a lot of confusing details in this. All of these are just assumptions. No concrete conclusion to be formed with what we have, and if we want to find out what we're really dealing with, I think Marianne's right. There might be something more to those stories. As absurd as it sounds, the very place that gave us that letter might tell us something beyond what we know. And tomorrow night, I have a few hours of that chance at the warm-up. Yes, at the housewarming party. Certainly not an exciting thought, since the place is privately owned now. I can't just wander around. That isn't enough reason to keep the dread at bay as I step out of the room, ready to put an end to this day. I'm just gonna check the journal. After the strange encounter at the little girl's room, Rebecca tries to remain composed throughout her day. As her classes ended, she received a phone call from Marianne McCullough, who asked unusual things about the Ermengarde mansion. However, all those good vibes disappear into thin air when I run head first into Luke. There's really something in this man. Regardless of how much my opinion of him has changed over the span of a few hours, he simply blasts through every good impression people have of him without care or thought. He doesn't even need to open his mouth, his mere presence does it. In all honesty, I think it's the kind of guy only a mother can love.
You're still here?
Obviously. Who do you think's standing in front of you?
An ass.
Oh, come on, Daisy. You've done better than that. Losing your touch?
Luke, I don't have time for this. I'm heading home, and your face is the last thing I want to see before I leave. What do you want?
Bellishly, I notice his hand. partly raised, almost poised for a knock. With a slight lift of an eyebrow, he quickly drops it to his side and turns to Kylie. She's standing a few steps away from him, holding her hands behind her back and toeing at something on the floor with the tip of her shoe. Then he proceeds to make a vague gesture at me and the child. He resembles a fish flopping for air with the way he's moving his arms. I think he's trying to urge her to speak up.
Munchkin, I thought you wanted to tell her something.
You do it, Tio.
What?
This wasn't my idea, darling.
Don't worry. I won't tell Tia what you told me the other day. And this morning.
Luke exhales, rolling his eyes at the ceiling and maybe praying for the universe to grant him more patience. He knows a losing battle when he sees one. He may act worse than a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum at times, but he's no match for an actual child. Nothing better than being served a dose of his own medicine, huh? Once his frustration has been promptly let out, he points a rude finger at me. I do my best to stare the offending digit down, but I can already hear the demand before it's even out of his lips.
You, come with us.
What is this about? This is so weird.
What makes you think I will?
Because little Rugrat here is upset and worried, and it's your bloody fault. I've no idea what happened this morning, but if you don't come with us, I won't be hearing the end of it from her. So do me a favor, Daisy, and just be glad I'm inviting you.
You're asking for a favor, and you can't be bothered to be polite? I don't know. It's been a really busy day for me. I kind of miss my couch.
Daisy, you just say yes.
A pause follows, almost too dramatic. Afterwards, his face twists into something between a grimace and a smile. As it happens, he appears like he's in a lot of physical pain. I think the man is getting an aneurysm by simply being polite.
Please?
Tio said it'll be his treat.
What? I said no such thing, Munchkin.
Nice, Kylie.
I only agreed to this because you requested it. I'm under no obligation to feed her.
I promise I'll be quiet the next time I visit.
Oh, all right, but just one meal and make it the cheapest.
He and Ashton will get along famously on that department. On a different front, the offer of free dinner does sound enticing, however half-heartedly given it is. Mostly because Kylie has wildly put on her puppy eyes, and by the second, I find all my choices slipping away from me.
See, Miss Pink? It'll be fun. You don't have to feel sad anymore, okay?
Oh, well,
My mobile buzzes from my pocket, cutting me mid-sentence, and for a second, I'm spared from the act of giving an answer I regret either way. Pitching the gadget out, I wave a hand at him and excuse myself. A disgruntled expression is on Luke's face before I turn away. I'd be lying if I say it didn't amuse me. He's as eager to be done with this as I am, but what can I do? Checking, a message from Ashton shows up. Oh. Hey Becca, I'll be around Solemnwell this evening. Need to meet someone in the area. I might have to drop by yours and Isabella's place after. See ya. Just the usual. Unlike what he does to Zachary, Ashton has the decency to let us know when he's dropping by or he's in the area for some business. From the way it's phrased, it sounds to be the letter. Either way, I'm glad he's at least aware of that boundary. Not that Isabella's ever going to let him leave the building unscathed if he ever pulls the same stunt he does with the other men. I cringe to imagine what she'll do to him. Sighing, I slip the gadget back to my pocket. But looking up to see Luke's utter impatience on his face, I now face a different dilemma. The two of them are still waiting, and knowing the kind of person Luke is, this is already a grand gesture of goodwill coming from him. All to please his godchild. His denials aside, it's easy to tell he's really fond of Kylie from his actions alone. I kinda hate to ruin that.
Well, Daisy, we're waiting here.
On the other hand, there's Ash. His message doesn't exactly imply he's going to wait or he's expecting me to be there, but there are matters I hope to discuss with him in person, to put it simply. Housewarming party matters. With inviting Spell out of the question, I only have Zachary and Ashton. Although the foreman has already made it clear he'll be busy this weekend, well, Ashton has been my first choice from the start. And if he detests attending gatherings like this. His company that counts. We can be miserable together. But that's the problem, isn't it? He hates them, and it's very likely his answer will be a flat no. I'd rather not hear that. If, by some miracle, he agrees to it, he'll probably be sulking the whole party. Not really a tough choice when you put it like that. Still... tough choice, but I have to pick one. Gosh. I'm just too... I don't know. Oh, sorry. I mean, I don't think Rebecca and Ashton will ever be together. Doesn't seem like it. If I'm gonna be honest. He doesn't seem interested. Like, he's obviously crushing on Isabella. So... I was not expecting this to happen. Well... I guess I'll go with... Jeez, this is probably going to be like a really bad decision. But I think I'm gonna go with them. I'm just too curious too, like what's gonna happen between them. So I'll just do that, I guess. Oh my gosh, this is maybe bad, I don't know. This might be really bad. In the end, it's my own fondness for Kylie that wins out. Chances are I'll only have to endure his presence for an hour or so. If it lasts more than that, I can make up an excuse. A sudden call from a friend or things to work on. It doesn't seem so bad when I think of the pros and cons. At best, it'll be a quiet dinner. At worst, it'll be an awkward affair we're both eager to be rid of. I'm leaning more on the latter happening, hoping for the former, of course.
Okay, but only because Kylie asked.
Kylie's face instantly lights up. For the third time today, she tackles me into a hug before pulling away and dragging me by the hand towards the building's exit.
That's alright. I'm sure Tio doesn't mind. He let me pick where we're going to eat. Don't worry, it's just close.
Now that I think about it, it was probably like the worst idea to do this because now, I mean, she is like possessed and like haunting her. Not Kylie, but you know, the ghost is using her, so maybe like being where Kylie is the worst thing to do. Something I didn't think about that. Well, curiosity just destroys it, right? Luke follows closely behind him, perhaps out of some desire to keep the dead air away. I can't resist throwing in a quip.
Keep your distance. You better not do anything funny, you hear?
I'm the one who should keep my distance. May I remind you who approached me first and what you did right after?
Oh, I remember it clearly. But perhaps it's you who needs a reminder. You seem to have never learned your lesson. Care we give it another try? Maybe this time it'll stick.
Maybe this time it'll stick. You think you're scary? I'll show you what's scary.
To my surprise, his tone lacks the usual sardonic note in it, and briefly I pause to stare at him. He quickly shuts his mouth right after and walks ahead of us. All talk and no trousers like the usual, and for the better part of our walk, except for Kylie's excited chatter, we don't talk. Somehow I have this strange feeling I'm already getting used to this kind of banter with him. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. And amidst this newfound friendship, dare I call it that? Ashton's meshes lays forgotten and abandoned in my pocket. Dinner date. I'm gonna die. She's gonna die. I don't know. Of all the places nearest to the school, Kylie picks this one and is waiting for food to be served is as awkward as I imagined it would be. Not the bad sort, though. The pleasant kind. Surprisingly, Luke's an okay bloke when he tries. When he tries. As long as you're willing to look past the tactless remarks or we're not exchanging acerbic quips. It's clear he's making an effort for this to be as fun as possible for this 6-year-old by being shadier, even going as far as to laugh when Caddy's story calls for it. It's an interesting thing to hear from the man. More than once, I catch his frequent chased-off expression easing whenever he looks at the girl.
And your friend? Did you make up with her?
Yep. She said she just saw something she didn't like. She didn't accept the jellies, though. She told me to give it to you instead. She knows you like the red ones, too.
Very well. Hand it to me later. I'll bring some of them home. I think your Tia would love to have some.
What a terrible liar. He says he dislikes the idea of having children of his own, but it's easy to see some part of him genuinely wants them. Why did I get a relationship update now? Was it a bit like Luke's character? So when you like play as Luke, it's like going up or something? Oh jeez, this is just... I just destroyed their marriage, didn't I? What's stopping him? As Kylie wanders to the nearby bookshelves after having lost interest in the conversation, however, we both revert back to silence. On our own, we have little to talk about, aside from a few questions about the other here and there. At one point, it does veer on local politics and history, surprisingly versed with it that he can hold a decent conversation without throwing a jibe. Nothing too personal is ever mentioned so far, though. It's too early for those, and besides, I don't like him enough to speak of every minute detail of my life. Better keep it strictly between the silence and the casual repartee. This whole thing already looks and feels wrong on so many levels. I'm quite sure it feels the same. So when another bout of silence hits us and becomes too much, I've taken to finding something else to occupy myself. Toying with my mobile, turning it from hand to hand, while we wait for our respective meals. But it'll be complete lie if I say I'm not waiting for some intervention. Something to pull me away from this place. Someone. Ashton's probably at Selmwell by this time, working on whatever business he has there. Maybe if I make up an excuse and leave now, I can still catch him?
Cut that out. It's distracting.
Okay, this is so... They're, like, seriously hinting, like, this was a bad decision. Just because you can, like, get better friends with people doesn't mean that you should. Oh, gosh. My hand on the stills, holding the gadget awkwardly between us, arrested mid-pass by its bored tone. He's been quiet for a long minute now, after complaining about how appealing the tea they're serving here is. Appalling, not appealing, appalling, completely different. Before that, he has whined about how uncomfortable his chair is and tasteless the decorations they have here are. Previous to that, he has gripped about how dull the place is compared to the one he frequents on the upper class side of the story. Well, I'm sorry for being a bunch of peasants, Your Majesty. Figures he'll lose patience soon, having already grumbled about almost everything his eyes can reach. It's just unfortunate it's turned to me now.
Why don't you just look somewhere else?
I can't. If I turn elsewhere, I might end up looking at the bobfuck right behind us.
What?
Do I even want to ask?
I don't want to hear it. If it's coming out of his mouth, it can only be either rude or offensive. Regardless, he continues.
Everything looks good. But have you seen the face?
What?
True horror.
What is wrong with you? You know, I frown about this in practice, but that mouth needs to be washed out with a particularly potent soap, preferably by your own mum.
A shame she isn't here,
For whatever reason, that puts an end to that talk right away. Sometimes watching his godchild, who has found a particularly interesting picture book and is now poring over it, I turn back to my mobile. Still no message. Would it kill him to at least send a message, check if I were home? Meanwhile, Luke's silence lasts all but 10 seconds.
What is it with the damn mobile? Are you on a curfew?
He's got the immature act down pat, I'll give him that. Seriously, how old is this guy? Has he somehow been deprived of affection during childhood?
And what is it to you? I don't think it's any of your business what I do with it.
It is my business, all right? 1, I'm the one paying here. 2, I'm being forced to eat dinner in a place this stuffed and noisy. Lastly, it's been 10 minutes, the food isn't here, and I'm hungry. What you're doing with the mobile is annoying and distracting, when the least you could do is keep things entertaining while I suffer.
That's your problem? Shouldn't you be more worried about how this entire affair looks to other people?
Oh, I didn't realize this was one. You move fast, Daisy. You could have informed me first, you know. Had I known, I would have taken you someplace nicer.
Oh, jeez.
Certainly the kind with better food and plenty of good wine.
Why did I ever think this was a good idea?
Sorry, that was my bad.
Did it ever occur to you how inappropriate this might look to everyone?
Why should I care? It's only inappropriate if you make it out to be. Relax. I won't do anything to make your boyfriend angry. He doesn't even need to know we dined out. It'll be our dirty little secret.
He's not my boyfriend!
The words come out with more force than I've intended. By the time I realize I might slip up, his lips are already spreading a sneer. Heat slowly crawls up in my face.
Oh, so there is someone. You're so easy to read.
Briefly, his eyes search my face. I have no idea what he sees, nor do I care to know, but in the next second, he barks out a laugh, displaying his amusement with reserve to everyone within earshot. In that moment, I know I've flipped a switch in him somewhere and I've lost my chance to deny his assumptions. Do I even want to? Isn't that the reason why I have been so focused on my mobile, waiting for another message from him? For a reason to dump this awkward meeting to go after him?
Look how mottled you are. Now the nickname makes more sense. Shy Miss Pink and her cute little crush. The color suits you, by the way. It matches the hair.
It's not a crush!
Classic denial. But in reality, you want him to be yours, and your every move is made to make him notice you. In fact, you don't want him to see you with another man in a non-professional capacity, because he might misinterpret it.
The same thing goes for you, doesn't it? Bloody, yours is even worse. What about your wife? Aren't you concerned she might misinterpret this?
Daisy, just because we tied the knot doesn't mean we have to be joined at the hip at every single opportunity.
Don't be ridiculous. Why else would you marry her if you don't want to be with her for the rest of your lives?
Because, Daisy, she also has other things she can do with her life and friends to spend time with. Granted, I don't like some of them, and I have a few of my own she utterly dislikes. But wifey doesn't have to know my every move. Nor do I hers. Do you know how boring that would be? To be with the same person for all hours of the day, losing sleep over the mere fact they're not with you? Or putting everything you have aside to please them? To have your whole world revolve around one person?
Aren't you just mistaking that for something else? Unlike you, there are other people here who don't share the same jaded outlook you have. Don't lump everyone together just because it didn't work out for you.
And you, my dear, are unexpectedly naive.
What's so naive about it? If you love each other, wouldn't you want to always see them, be with them? To have them focus solely on you? Maybe you haven't been loved enough.
Oh, it's that kind of thing for you, isn't it? The love is eternal, love is a strong emotion shite. A starry-eyed girl pining for her dashing Prince Charming? What's next? Romantic confessions of love? A grand wedding on the beach? Dozens of spawns running around in some picturesque home in the suburbs? How quaint. Are you also expecting it's going to be sunshine and rainbows after? A happily ever after? Please.
What? I never once said... And is all of that such a bad thing to hope for?
Woman, I've been married for 7 years, and I'm telling you, it's far from what you have in your pretty red head. Tell me, how long has this song and dance been going for you and your man? Maybe I am mistaken.
Averting my eyes from him is all I managed to do. What does his mere 7 years have compared to the 17 I've had with Ash? It's laughable as he thinks those two things are even comparable. Ash and I may have never moved past the boundaries of friendship like what I've been hoping for years, but what we have isn't something anyone can scoff at. I've always been by his side, endured everything with him. I know him better than anyone. No matter what this man, this complete stranger, says, I know there will always be a place for me beside him. And yet...
Come on, Daisy, that shouldn't be too hard. 3, 5, 8, 10, 20.
His words easily seep into my heart like sharp daggers, gradually picking apart everything I've ever been sure of. Despite myself, the doubts resurface and my defenses crumble right in front of my eyes. Crumble. It's no wonder he sees through me, and as I expected, he ridicules it. Laughs, restrained, low and rumbling, a sharp sound striking the air around us, amidst the murmur of people and the soft notes of the music playing over our heads. His shoulders shake, and when his mirth becomes too much even for him, he reaches up a hand and passes it over his face as if to hold his glee close to him.
Bloody bullocks, this is just brilliant. Oh, Mother, why do I always keep running into these things? This day couldn't get any better. I think I'm gonna need a stiff drink after this.
It dissolves into another peal of laughter, but when it subsides, what he has for me are more words, sketching each of them. The urge to run from here has never been this strong.
Is everything you said how you plan to act, if that man of yours ever ends up with you? Cling to him? Put him on a bloody pedestal? Let him become the center of your universe? Although with how long this seems to be going on, I think you've already done so. Marriage will just be icing on the top. Like some sort of reward for you, isn't it? For being a good, patient, loyal little girl all this time, never looking at another man. He must have been having a grand time with someone pining over him this long. I'm a little envious, to be honest. Maybe also a little surprised he hasn't suffocated from all your attention yet.
Laugh all about it if you want. It's not like you'll ever understand.
Luke falls silent. The ridicule in him is gone in an instant, and his eyes meet mine, sharp and imposing. I challenge, but I hold it against him with the same intensity. Because if there's something I won't let his opinion trample on, it's this. But does he know? However, he's the first one who looks away, focusing his eyes back to where Kylie is, and for a moment, I believe I've won. Until he draws in a breath and turns back to me. The words he drops next, though hushed, hang heavily in the distance between us.
You're right. I won't. But I do know not to mistake love for obsession, woman. They are not the same thing.
It rattles. Out of everything he said tonight, this is the one thing that twings my heart. Maybe it's in the manner he delivers it, the lack of conceit in his posture, or an underlying insult in the tone it takes. The remark is not meant to cut, merely to express a simple truth. This time it's him who holds gaze against mine. Another unspoken challenge, and I realized that if this happened minutes before, I'd already have an equally searing retort at the tip of my tongue. There's none, but the anger is there, wringing at my insides, prodding at the uncertainties I've long kept. Isn't it enough? We have the long years we've been together. We have the memories. Whenever he needs me, until other people come in between us, I've always been the one there. That dedication and loyalty should mean something, shouldn't it? I've always been sure of it, and that one day, I'll see for what it is. In spite of that, in this minute, under this man's scrutiny, my own heart wavers. Now I struggle to find the words. I'm just gonna recheck exactly what he said. No, love for obsession. I don't know. I really don't know. Again, I just don't know what to answer. I did say right. Yeah, I did. right do you have? She'll be very defensive, right? I don't know. I don't need to answer that. I don't even know what to pick at this point. Oh, it went up even more. Holy shit. My goodness. What am I doing? However, those are for me to ponder on. This artist doesn't need to hear them, and neither is he entitled to them just because he dished out some profound sounding life wisdom no one asked for. So I look away, hoping my own silence would be enough for an answer for him. And it is, for a moment, up until warm, furious tears prickle behind my eyes, stinging, begging for release, along with every other frustration this dumb talk has built up in me. All because of this man. I hate him. I hate the fact that he has to be the one to see me in this sorry state. I'm already expecting another barb from him when his expression shifts. Except he panics. In the span of 3 seconds, his expression changes from indifferent to concerned to utter panic. It would probably have been funny if it weren't so irked by the sight of this glaiked bastard.
Hey, are you crying? Are you going to cry? Stop that right now, woman, or I'll...
Will you shut up?
Clams up almost before I could finish. Whether this is due to the sudden force in my voice or how I look, I pretend not to think of it. He seems like a deer caught in the headlights, the way he's making himself smaller in his seat. But I'm still pissed. I'm tired, and if I can't punch him, I can at least scream at him.
You're an annoying bag of dick, you know that? If I hear another word from you, I'm sewing that bloody mouth shut myself!
It does do the trick. Not to the effect I'd hoped. But the moment I've snapped at him, the stinging at the back of my eyes melt away and a strange calm overcomes me. A fragile thing when found in the middle of a busy coffee shop. Nevertheless, it's appreciated considering it doesn't last, immediately broken by the very person that put me in this state with a few awkward pats to my shoulder. Dumb twice. Thrice. And another. Until my patience runs out again and I'm pulling out the book from my bag, raising it threateningly over his head. It'll surely dent his skull if it slams down at this height. Part of me wants to see that, but I restrain myself. He has the good sense to recoil, though. Shortly, he shrinks back to his seat and waves his hand in front of him in a gesture of surrender.
Watch that book, woman! I already warned you about your little threats. You don't want to see my brand of angry!
Then keep your hands to yourself!
All right, that's it. People these days, I swear you treat them nicely, and this is where it gets me.
You're the last person I'd ever want to comfort me, even if we're the only 2 remaining people on Earth. Don't flatter yourself.
Okay, have it your way, Daisy.
And stop calling me Daisy! I have a name, you know!
He mutters something inaudible under his breath, although afterwards he doesn't say anything further. I don't think we've even given him his name. His name, our name, Rebecca's name. For the next minute, he simply contents himself with making a mess out of the paper napkins, folding them into clean shapes without any clear intent, for crumbling them in his hand when he loses interest and dumping them in a small pile in front of him. A waiter serves our meal soon enough, and Callie makes her way back to our table. Before I can take a single bite, he mutters something. The words spoken in the same tone as used since morning, all under his breath, whenever the honest part of himself would show. Despite my rather confusing opinion of the man, I stopped short of shoving food in my mouth to look at him. His eyes are on his food as he speaks, busying himself with cutting a portion of meat on his plate. But what comes out of him only rings true against my ears above the din of the coffee house.
For what it's worth, Rebecca, I didn't ever think that's all there is to you.
Huh.
Why else would I leave my own goddaughter in your care if you're just some lovesick woman?
He spares a piece of his food, pops it into his mouth, and that's it. One whole day with this man and I still can't figure out what his deal is. For what it's worth as well, I don't think he's an entirely bad guy. The rest of our meal slips by in silence afterwards. Aside from Kylie's occasional chatter, the whole dinner goes by without another word exchanged between the two of us. Somehow we managed to make it through the whole thing without triggering another tension-riddled conversation. A good thing, perhaps. One, because Kylie is sitting in front of us, and two, I probably won't be able to hold a proper conversation with my mind heavy with thoughts. We depart from the coffee house just as the evening crowd starts to thin out. The same wordless silence fills our short walk back to the school. Except for when Luke gestures at the nearby flower shop and enters it without waiting for Kylie and I. He emerges minutes later carrying a bouquet of daffodils with the same softened expression back on his face. Unlike the previous ones, he tucks this one away almost as soon as he looks up at us, a moment he's not willing to share. To my confusion, he merely answers with a shrug and continues walking.
For someone important.
I accept it for what it is, if only because he doesn't owe me an explanation. He does leave more questions about him, each one as baffling as the previous ones. Those are the last words spoken this evening before we had our own ways. Wait, did he give those to Hana? I can't remember. So, This is Thursday today. Let's see. I don't know. My goodness, this is going to be a disaster. I mean, I'm hoping she was lying, but you know. Yeah. Okay, what's this? Nightmares. Right sack got nightmares of her. This is the breakup. Just for a couple of days, so I guess she'll be back on the last day. Right, she calls for backup. Oh my gosh, this is so complicated. Like, all the relationships, they're so complicated. And then she's like, Rebecca. And now Rebecca's been, like, everyone, almost all of the women are, like, all over Luke right now. Right. And we've only got this little part for October 30th. I think this is, like, definitely going to be Ashton's moment. I can't even talk anymore. I mean, with the investigation and like figuring out the stuff, it's gonna be exciting. Those are the last words spoken this evening before we had our own ways. And now I couldn't find the bouquet. Up until I arrive home, I still can't understand him. Here, however, a whole different set of questions await me. And much like everything today, it comes with the littles of things. A lone note greets me upon reaching my unit's door. Its edges flutter lightly against the faint, warm breeze passing through the small complex. My hand stops short of twisting the knob as I stare at it, though I don't make any moves to take it. Ashton's neat script lines its surface. Dropped by earlier, you weren't around. Any ideas where Scaredy Cat is? I couldn't contact her. Inspector Abigail has a few questions. All PD staff, something about her dead co-workers anyway. Let me know how the two of you have been doing. I'll see you later, Ash. Oh, where's Isabella? The message he laughed short and straight to the point, but not without the underlying hint of friendship. He was looking for Isabella, apparently. Something about LPD's investigation of the co-worker staff, but ends his formal tone by checking on me. Us. Any other day, the former part of his message would likely product a piercing envy I had been holding, while the latter would probably send my heart aflutter. Luke and Kelly invited Rebecca for dinner as she was about to leave. Despite receiving a text message from Ashton, Rebecca agreed, and Free spent the evening at a nearby coffee house. Upon returning to her flat, she found a note that Ashton left her. Any other day, heart flutter. Little things from him that I want to mean something more. Yet this time, only guilt fills me, and my eyes briefly shifts towards as well as empty unit. Those words repeat inside my head as I do so.
For what it's worth, Rebecca, I didn't ever think that's all there is to you. Why else would I leave my own goddaughter in your care if you're just some lovesick woman?
Have I always been like this?
This selfish? In truth, I intended to call Ash after that dinner. If I didn't catch him here, invite him to that party like I've planned. There's time, and he's still probably weak at around this hour. But my hands won't move, and perhaps it is for the better. Until I've had the time to think this through, it will be best if I distance myself from those I've been clinging tightly to. Find a different perspective and see things for what they are. With a soft sigh, I reached for the note and crumbled it under my hand. The note was open but much ease when I entered this time. Maybe after some introspection, it will be easier. For tomorrow I have that woman and the mansion to worry about.